So I had a meeting with our news director, Tom Rooney. I had a couple of other stories that we didn't get to. We talked about the debate at length this morning. That really was the big story. But I had a couple of other stories that there was, and for those of you who follow me on Facebook, Congressman Dusty Johnson shared so much of this is debate. That's all we talked about this morning. But Congressman Dusty Johnson had a very interesting column yesterday. There it is. And it's worth pointing out. I want to make sure that you see this. And again, if you follow me on Facebook, I linked to the column that the congressman had wrote. And this is crazy. And this is we've got all of our congressional representatives and Governor Noem, they all put out a weekly newsletter. And it's just an update on things that are going on. And Congressman Johnson's caught my eye yesterday. He said, I joined Governor Noem for her Tribal Public Safety Crisis Summit on Monday for a conversation to find solutions to the violent crime crisis on Indian reservations. And there were some local FBI agents who were participating in the event. They were told by Department of Justice officials that they could not attend the summit if I was present. Apparently, Merrick Garland's deputy is the one who gave the directive. So Garland's rules and regulations prevent FBI officials from having policy conversations with members of Congress outside of DOJ's official briefing process. So in other words, what it meant is, he said, these local FBI guys, then, in obedience to Merrick Garland, he said they drove circles around the block and hid in the hallway until I left the building. So here's Congressman Dusty Johnson and these local FBI agents, peeking around the wall, hiding from him. And that is just like absolutely incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, as they say on the air all the time, it's your government in action. I mean, seriously. I posted that, and he's saying this is absurd, says Congressman Dusty Johnson, and I totally agree with him. He said the whole purpose of the summit was to bring federal, state, local, and tribal community leaders, bring them all together to be able to discuss ways that we can work together then when it comes to law enforcement, especially on tribal lands, and to be able to then fight against violent crime. And, I had Minnehaha County Sheriff Mike Milstead, who was on the air with me yesterday, talking about fentanyl and what we see happening with that. It's a big issue on tribal lands, and I think Congressman Dusty Johnson is absolutely right. So the Biden administration, Merrick Garland, I think the things that he's up to, and when we discover something like this, I found that to be really, really shocking. So again, pretty easy to find it. If you're interested in reading it, I would definitely recommend it to you. Again, it's Merrick Garland's Contempt for Congress. And Johnson goes on to say, throughout my time in Congress, I've been an advocate for more federal dollars to be allocated to tribal law enforcement agencies. And he said, I commend the governor for organizing and hosting this summit. We need to work together to find a solution. And I've got to wonder if that's one of the problems that we have as a country right now, that we have forces and policies like this that are in place that make it impossible to work together, to be able to find solutions. You cannot tell me that it is a good idea for local FBI agents to actively avoid, we cannot, per the Attorney General or his office, per that directive, we cannot even be present while a congressman is there, while you have these kinds of conversations taking place. That just defies the whole purpose of government. I mean, does it not? Being able to work together and talk to each other, and I think that's just one more illustration of how broken government is, and we see it even in South Dakota. Then I've had that story in my stack of stuff. I moved it yesterday on Facebook, and if you want to read the entire column, I suggest you find it there on my Facebook page. I moved it yesterday, and I was just like, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I was just struck by the stupidity of this, not Congressman Johnson, but I was just, it's an illustration of how broken our government has become. Just one more example. So you can go read that in a little bit more detail. I've had this in the stack of stuff for the last few days, and I thought this would be the great time to share it with you, because with the debate yesterday that really dominated our conversation this morning on the Greg Belfrage show, but Fox Business had a story about the number of people who own an EV. They own an electric vehicle. And nearly half of them are having buyer's remorse. They're sorry that they bought an electric vehicle. This was released by McKinsey & Company's Mobility Consumer Pulse. It was released this month. It found that 46% of EV owners in the United States said they were very likely to switch back to a gas guzzler after owning an EV. They bought an EV, and in other words, they won't buy another one. They're very likely to go back and buy a gas-powered vehicle. So among the people who are buying them, saying now they don't want another one, they're likely to go back to a gas-powered vehicle. I think that's pretty significant. And again, in the midst of just a tidal wave of really kind of shocking and other bad news that we see going on out there, I think stories like this one get lost. And I wanted to share that with you. And I think the after show is kind of a great place to be able to do this, because there are so many stories that I go, okay, this is significant. I set it aside. And then there are other stories that just wind up dominating the news, understandably so, and rightly so, that stories like this I have a tough time bringing to you. And I think unless you're consuming news all of the time, almost on a, which I don't. I mean, it's seriously, I make it a point that I get to a point in my day where I feel like I've done what I could. I have let people know what's going on out there, and what's happening, and what you do with it then is up to you. But I just cannot live in that news, living and breathing news 24/7. It's one of the reasons why, you don't see me on Twitter. You don't, throughout the day and pummeling. I get to a point where I just say, enough. It's just enough. It's overwhelming. And it really kind of is. And so I would like to bring you more of these kinds of stories, but it's difficult to do that when, now, obviously, today is kind of an exception because we had the debate last night. But even then, beyond just the particulars of what happened at the debate, the conversation becoming about whether Democrats are going to try to replace Joe Biden then at their convention coming up, and it certainly is looking like that's the direction they're headed, and what that's going to mean, I think, moving forward. one of the I do plan to keep an eye on things this weekend just to see, what the reactions are and what the movement is over the weekend, because I've got a feeling that we'll have a much better idea coming up on Monday morning of where Democrats are moving, and now whether or not that was by design, because I wonder that. I mean, honestly, the president, his performance last night was bad. It was really bad. And the fact that he wasn't as hopped up as we saw, during who is that? Sean. Sean, you're always so great. Sean said, thank you for your radio show and so on. Sean, I really appreciate it. And thanks for being here. I can't articulate how much I appreciate those of you who listen to the show regularly, and those of you who follow me whether you follow me on Facebook, following me here on YouTube. You just mean the world to me. And you give me the strength on days, today is one of those days. Steve also, thank you, Steve. He said, I'm happy to see an after show. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. It's great to have you guys along. One of the other things I did want to do is I wanted to share a couple of emails. Thanks, because you reminded me. And these are emails that have sometimes they come in after the show. Like this is somebody who emailed me actually about 20 minutes ago and said, why would you have a presidential debate in June instead of September, October, if you were not concerned that your candidate is not up to the task? I've seen the decline, they're saying I saw the decline 2.5 years ago. The Democratic Party thought they could keep Trump from running with the so-called the Democratic Party, though. Oh, some of this is a little bit difficult. I wonder if I get folks emailing me by voice or what the Democrats always think. The Democrats always think people will just fall in line, but the regular people have to live with the policies of the Democrats, and that's not working out very well. Inflation, open borders, energy prices, along with the electrical grid that is in need of a massive upgrade, before we ever talk about EVs. And again, I just shared that story about EV owners saying, half of them saying, no, I would never get another one. As a country, we have to move backwards in every category domestically and on the world stage. We are no longer the envy of the world, no longer a leader. We are just part of a group without any influence, Keith said. Also, again, I'm going to go to emails I've already pre-read here. Jan sent me an email. She said, where are all the lies they said Trump said last night? And she's referring to the legacy media. Where are all the lies they said Trump said last night? Some news show said this morning he had a torrent of lies. And they said Biden just had embellishments and exaggerations. Yeah, what are all the lies that Trump allegedly told last night? Kurt had the problem I suspect many did. Kurt said, I tried to watch the debate. I got as far as Biden's Trump said to shoot bleach in the arm. He said, I heard Biden say that and I turned it off. Might have been 53 seconds he lasted going into the debate. And then he said, I heard Charlottesville came up as well. Then I saw the Biden snafus. And he said, if you recall when the debates were announced, I assumed the powers that be had a plan to fool us into thinking how good Biden was. I did not anticipate that the puppet masters were using the debate to throw Biden under the bus. Is that what you think happened? Kurt does, and I understand why Kurt thinks that. He said, my guess is that the Biden camp was thinking they were in power, but then the real power camp had to flex their muscles in order to get Joe out of the way. So that's at least a few of the emails that I've received from you. And I see more folks are popping in with comments, which I really do appreciate. I'm going to keep the after show going. And I will, so thank you for that. And again, it will not be long. Only about 15 minutes is what I plan to do. And again, this morning, I apologize for being a few minutes late. I was dealing with staff and other issues that are going on here. But those are some of the things that have been at least on my radar. And I have not been able to bring them to you in the show. But I appreciate your emails. I appreciate your comments here on YouTube. So thank you for being here on YouTube. And we'll keep the after show going. Again, it won't be long, generally 10 to 15 minutes each morning afterwards. And it's especially helpful, I think, on days where, and let me check here to see if there was any new headlines that are, the Washington Examiner's got a story this morning. How Biden could be replaced as the Democratic nominee. That's their main story. Also, live updates. Democrats deal with fallout from Biden's debate debacle. We talked about that in more issues, or in more detail during my program this morning. Also, let's check foxnews.com. Supreme Court makes a highly anticipated ruling involving the power of federal agencies. The Supreme Court sided with fishermen in a landmark case deciding the fate of the administrative state, Fox News says. So again, we're expecting even more rulings coming out as to today. Also, the media meltdown. Let's see if the Hill's got anything new going on this morning. The White House and the Biden campaign are slamming chatter of a replacement. So apparently they are scrambling this morning amid the talk that Joe Biden might drop out of the race. A campaign official dismissed talk of Biden withdrawing. Top Democrats, some of the top Democrats are being floated then as potential candidates to replace Biden. And so some are not, and again, I think one of the things you see is who's in lockstep with the Biden White House and who isn't. So Tom is asking if I can share the story about Dusty Johnson and the FBI agent. Go to my Facebook page. I shared that story yesterday on Facebook. So it is there. You can also go to Congressman Dusty Johnson's website and check his media notices is where it's under. He does a weekly letter. Look for that. So you'll find it on his website. And again, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, I shared it yesterday. So that's really all I've got this morning. I want to wish you a really wonderful weekend. Hope you have a great weekend. Get some rest, relaxation, and fire it up, and we'll do it again on Monday morning. So thanks for letting me join you for a few minutes or a few hours. Whatever you're able to give me each day, it's very much appreciated, my friends. Before I leave you, please smash that like button. Let other like-minded friends know about what we're doing. I think it's really important that not only that we share the same point of view, but that we let other people whom, don't know about the news that we're sharing, and maybe they're still following legacy media and so on. Those are the folks that I worry about, that they're not hearing some of the news that you're getting on a daily basis. So one of the ways that you can help spread the word is by hitting the like button and letting your friends know. I really do appreciate it. So again, I want to wish you a wonderful weekend. Take care. I'll see you again Monday morning. So long until then, my friend, and may God bless.